Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Podcast, where the DR stands for Driving Results. Our focus is weekly conversations around life and business relationships and the important leadership qualities for both. These concepts and qualities will help you drive positive results in both your business and personal lives. A weekly connection point to help business leaders develop individual contributors, managers, and executives on your teams. We also will tie in concepts around family focus and life lessons to help you drive success in your personal life. Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Show. Let's get after it. Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Podcast, where we all get together to try to get better. Hope you're having an awesome day, had an awesome week. The weather's been a little winterish lately, so I'm looking forward to spring. I don't know about the rest of you, but a little bit of sunshine and a little bit warmer weather would be nice for the upper Midwest. But hope you're having a great day. Hey, had a great week the last week. Some new extraordinary levels on downloads and some great feedback from some people that I consider their input very valuable. They said to spend a little more time clarifying that the website is drleadershipresults.com, not drleadershipresults.com. Some people were entering DOCTOR, and we're having trouble finding the website to get out on the subscription services. So I wanted to take a minute to clarify that. Also remember, you can reach us, get to all the prior episodes, send information, subscribe at our website, www.drleadershipresults.com. You can also send us an email at drleadershipresults@gmail.com so we can get the feedback coming in. But I had a great week. I've got a topic today that I think is real important for all of us, no matter what your position in life is. It can be utilized, this discussion, in your personal life as a parent, but really this one's more business focused. And it doesn't matter if you're an individual contributor who is the key representative on an account. It doesn't matter if you're a manager of individual contributors, a director of managers, an executive of large teams. It is a valuable concept for all of us. And it's how do you gain collaboration amongst your teams and family, we'll say, but amongst your teams in a meeting. And there's a lot of psychological things that are going on whenever you get involved in a meeting. And, the sitting in a meeting, about a third, what I have found anyway, when you go into a meeting, about a third of the people are engaged, about a third of the people are listening, and about a third aren't even really present because they don't feel their value, they don't feel they need to be there, they've got something else on their mind, etc. And suddenly, you're only getting 33% of power out of the concepts and the ideas that can come from all of those people in that meeting. We're assuming that the employees, your partners, your subject matter experts, your managers, your individual contributors, whoever's in that meeting has value for the company. They're here. So how do we get the most out of that? How are you going to have the best solution or approach to whatever opportunity you're working on? How are you going to get the best answers, the best approaches, if not all the ideas are brought forward? You got different personalities, you got strong personalities, you got more introverted personalities, etc. And many times when you're coming into that meeting, let's say it's me coming in, I carry a big title inside my organization. I've been around a long time. Believe it or not, I'm kind of a strong personality, and I need to follow these concepts myself. I need to contemplate this continuously to ensure I'm getting the best out of it. But a lot of people come into the meetings. Let's say you're the CEO of an organization. A lot of people come in with fear and anxiety. Their barriers are up because they don't want to say something wrong. They don't want to not agree with you for fear of, career impact, etc. So how do you go about as a person that's called a meeting? How do you get the barriers down, the interaction up, the collaboration at its highest? Let's say you're a strong individual contributor, right? An A player that has performed for years. The one thing you don't want to do is position yourself in the psychological, how people are taking you psychologically in between their own ears that you're the head woman in charge or you're the head man in charge and you aren't looking for anything other than agreement. I see it happen all the time. I have been guilty myself of it. And you have to remove those fears. You don't really want collaboration if you aren't breaking those barriers down. And there's a great article by a gentleman by the name of Timothy Clark that I've read. I read it a few weeks ago, and I thought, that's going to make a really, really good concept to discuss on the podcast. And I just kind of put it over in my pile of, hey, to get tos. And I got up this morning and I was kind of finishing what I want to do this on. And there was a lot of good concepts that we've stepped up to this. Questions to ponder on how to be a good leader a couple weeks ago, how to utilize humor. And some of these concepts tie together. So I thought, I'm going to put this one out here this week and see how in the world we can help each other get the most out of all of the players on our teams and around us in our business environment to develop great ideas and great strategies that are going to take us to the next level. Economic conditions are very tough right now. Everyone's looking for a competitive advantage, a way in which to drive better results. We saw that, hey, we got 2.1% GDP for the whole year last year. Well, guess what? The economy's not good. 45,000 tech people have been let go in the last 6-7 days. This is, end of January. I'm actually recording this. As I said, I'm always a couple weeks ahead. There are some bad things still potentially on the horizon. So we got to maximize our results internally to allow us to maximize our results externally, be it as a seller, a manager, a leader, an executive, a person in your home life, whatever it might be. So I wanted to go through some of these concepts that Mr. Clark kind of touched on how do you get the most out of an internal meeting. So imagine when you come walking in, everybody is getting into that meeting mode. They're sitting in their chairs, and you come in, or maybe you were there first. I got to break down the anxieties. I got to get everyone willing to be comfortable throwing ideas, concepts, challenging the norm out there. And one of the first things that you can do is try to assign running the meeting to someone else. And my personal approach would be talk to them before the meeting. Hey, we're going to have a meeting on XYZ issue, opportunity, problem, whatever you're trying to drive here. And I'd really like you to lead it because I don't want me sitting there kicking it off. I'll probably still kick it off, but handling all of the input because I'm fearful that I'm going to stagnate input. So you bring someone else in to run the meeting. You occupy whether you don't know it or not, whether you know it or not, Let's say you're that strong rep again. You kind of occupy the top of the power hierarchy. Let's say this isn't a leadership concept meeting. Let's say that you're an individual contributor and you've got issues inside the account, or you're trying to get into a new line of business in the account, and you're that strong rep that's always had the relationship. You don't want to come in there and be this power player because you aren't going to get good out of everybody else. You don't have all the right answers. I've had this experience in the last couple of weeks. There is a rep in a line of business that is just a bully. And when you're a bully, you may not realize it, but you're actually having degrading impacts on what you're trying to drive here. Bullies are very insecure people. People that come in and try to say, I'm the sheriff, I'm the queen bee, I'm the king bee. That's all really driven through insecurities. And you don't want to be that way ever, first of all. But when you're trying to collaborate, the last thing you want is this BS hierarchy in place to stifle input. So you got to break it down. And you give the power to lead to someone else. You're now more of kind of a player coach, or you're now more of a player in the grand scheme instead of being the super, super high-end personality that's going to stifle all the results. Sorry, I'm flipping my page here in notes. You don't want to do that because you're off to a bad start. The second thing I would say, and this is an old school one, and I do it two different ways. If I'm going into a customer engagement where let's say it's a negotiation with attorneys or something like that, I will sit at the head of the table if I'm there early enough. And it's a positioning statement, right? It's old school, but it works because psychology has not changed. Now you want to invert that when it's not I'm in there in kind of I don't want to say fighting, but positioning for better results for my side of the argument versus someone else. Sitting at the head of the table sends a psychological signal that there's a sheriff in the room, right? This is the person that's going to be leading as much as possible. Now, it doesn't mean you go off and you're an a-hole, but it is a psychological positioning. Just the opposite when you're having a meeting driving collaboration and you are the highest ranking or considered the most powerful person in the room. Don't sit at the head of the table. Sit at the middle of the table. Don't be the person that is trying to throne themselves in the room. You don't want that right now. So sit at the middle, sit off center of the middle, sit at the corner. Sit against the wall if there's a table and not enough seats for everybody. It's okay. The conversation will flow better. The interaction will be better if you don't start off by psychologically positioning people as subordinates. That's a big one. The other thing I always try to do, and I'm not perfect at it by any stretch, but greet people as they come in the room, lighten the air pressure up a little bit before the thing even starts. Have a little bit of, hey, Sue, come on in, sit down. How you been? Good to see you. Hey, great job last week on the Wilson account, whatever the commentary is. Hey, Bob, how you been? How are the boys? Good to hear you. Hey, I ran into your wife at the grocery store last week. It's good to see her. Hope everything's going well at home. How was vacation, Billy? Just lighten the room up, right? Get some greetings involved. Relieve the stressors of the unknown. You're trying to get warmth into the environment, right? You're trying to break things down so you get the most collaboration, the most interaction, the most feedback, the most ideas flowing. The other thing you really got to be careful of is, and many of you have probably heard these in the past, but facial expressions, gestures, voice fluctuations, how loud you speak, how direct you speak, the choice of language, the sternness of your voice, crossing your arms. You have to be cognizant of all of these things when you're trying to create a safe, vulnerable environment that people are going to engage in. Now, just the opposite can be true when you're trying to position in power. You want to be able to use your voice. I'm blessed with a deep voice. It has helped me immensely in my career. They say height and baritone and deeper voices have a lot of advantages. For a man, for a female, a deeper voice, height helps as well. Lots of studies on it. I'm blessed to have a little bit of help from the good Lord above with a deep voice. But you have to be careful. I have to be careful because it can be an intimidating factor to people. So I try to, be a little more high level and lightheartedness and with about, isn't that great? And I don't try to raise my voice so much as to not use it to drive my points home. And it can happen naturally, unfortunately, so I have to be very, very careful. The next step I already kind of touched on, but you got to show yourself as vulnerable in this thing. You've called the meeting. You're asking people to come in and give insights on it. Everyone as they come in is measuring the room, reading the room. Not necessarily thinking they're doing it, but they're doing it. So everyone's got this risk versus reward mentality. They're coming in going, well, I'm not going to say anything because, guys, if I say something stupid or something that I'll use me as the leader and there as Brent doesn't like, then what impact's that going to have on my annual review or my opportunity to go into management or go into a subject matter expert role that Brent has interaction on? We don't want to have that happen. So people are really, really measuring the room. So one of the things I try to do is challenge myself right away. And what I mean by challenge myself isn't try to put a big goal in front of me and challenge me to get there. What I'm saying is challenge my own hierarchy. Say things like, man, folks, the reason we're here is I need your help. I don't have this figured out. Admit you don't have all the answers. That's why you're having the damn meeting. Why wouldn't you let everybody know that? Because again, sales, interaction, leading in personal life, business life is a psychological engagement. To get people to do things, whether you're trying to drive someone to something or truly pull input out, you have to psychologically get them in the right place by allowing them to feel free, in this example, to lean in. I always talk about lean into something. At this moment, when you're driving for collaboration, good ideas, solving problems, creating new engagements for your business to go out and sell a service, a product, a widget, whatever, you want all of the brain power. You want all of the synapses in that room firing at full potential. You don't want people sitting back. Remember I said a third are in the meeting, a third are listening, and a third are there going, well, this will get me an hour closer to 5 o'clock. You don't want any of the second two. Now, you want good listening to lead to great engagement from those that are listening. So let them know you don't have all the answers, right? Be vulnerable yourself. We had a big training. We have this thing called Culture of Excellence at my employer, and it's bringing all sorts of leaders together and trying to drive some of these concepts. It was a lot of fun for me because a lot of the things we've been talking about were what they were bringing up on the call. Not that I'm better or that I had it first. It's just good to be reaffirmed on what I'm trying to deliver to all of you that aren't in some of these meetings. The concepts are at least some pretty solid concepts believed by others. And there were some things I took out of that like, I missed that. I need to talk about that down the road. More to come on those. But you need to open your team's mind that it's safe. So you got to be vulnerable, challenge yourself, admit you don't have those answers, point out where you've made mistakes in the past. Hey, I've got this team together because I really screwed the pooch when we tried to launch that program last quarter because I thought I had it all figured out. And evidently, based on the results and the feedback from the field, I didn't get it right. So I'm not going to make that mistake again, folks, kind of role playing here. I need your help. Express that you have uncertainty. I'm not sure how we need to go about moving our approach, again, just making kind of a concept up as I go along, to ensure we get better results. I need your help. Human nature drives people to want to help others. Whenever you're going into a situation with another department, let's say inside your organization, and you need them to approve something, I always start with, how's your day? Hope it's going well. The reason I'm here is I need your help. And by design, people will lean in to help. 99% anyway. Not everybody. Some people just don't want to be bothered by anything other than themselves. And it's really unfortunate for those people. But the rest of the humankind, we want to help. And then you lay out that the reason I need your help is we're trying to get the Smith account to agree, and I need a little bit better interest rate. Let's say I'm talking to finance here. And I know that's not our goal every single day, but I don't ask for this a lot. I need your help because there's a lot of upside if you help me to your department too. It'll bring more revenue into the finance department as an example. So ask for help. Admit you don't have all the answers. Be vulnerable. Key concept. The next thing is that, man, you don't want to drive linear thinking in this engagement. You don't want everybody to go, yeah, that's right. We're in our little bubbles. There's too many bubbles in this world. Everybody's agreeing with each other. Two teams, right? One on the left, one on the right. And I only talk to the people on my side because they at least agree with me. Might make you feel good, but you ain't accomplishing crap with that approach. Ask questions, but don't advocate the first idea that comes out. What I mean by that is, if someone states, let's say that, I am the leader in the room, and one of my direct reports is in there, right? Everybody in the room is probably an indirect report to me, but one of my direct reports talks to me more often than indirect reports. So they may think, They know exactly what I want to hear, and they state, for the first thing, they throw out the first idea and go, we ought to do this. I may agree wholeheartedly with that, but the last thing I want to do is go, you know what? That's a good idea. You don't want to say that because you're trying to set up exploratory conversation, not agreement. You're trying to find ways in which to enhance. You're trying to exploit all of the firepower in between the ears of these people in the room. And if you immediately lean into the first idea, not saying the first idea is not great, just don't advocate too quickly there, because people that are thinking the exact opposite of that and may have a really, really good reason, they aren't going to bring it up. If you go, that's a great idea. You know what? You're exactly right. Exactly? No, they aren't. No, you aren't. You have to allow the exploratory piece to happen. If you're an individual contributor, you want the customer speaking more than you. You want to ask questions that lead to their ideas coming that can expand your opportunity, allow you to position the solution that you're building for them specific to them to be more valuable and return on investment to be higher. Individual contributors many times are guilty of this. I already know the answer when you come in. You're asking questions to simply try to drive to your already perceived answer. Same thing here. You need to collaborate with the client. Find out what the problem is before you're inserting product X or service Y into your proposal mentally already. May be completely the wrong thing. You don't want that linear thinking. Set up that exploratory conversation. Say things like, I like, that's a concept that we need to consider. Help me with this, though. What are the items in that concept that could be risk to us? Or, I wonder why we've always done it this way when there's so many other ways to do it. Let's see if we can figure out the why we have done it and why we shouldn't do it, right? The other thing to do, or the next thing, is reward challengers versus rewarding the status quo. It's okay as a leader to say things as, I might be wrong. Thanks for that. I may have missed something. Help me find the answer there. Again, being vulnerable is a key component to great leadership. You got to the leadership position not because you were born with all the right answers, but because you've experienced a lot of things. And just like in the past, something new is going to come out that can help everyone in the room. The next concept, we had using humor to drive results, right? And there are hundreds of studies on that. I said, I don't want you to show up in a clown car with big shoes on, but we need to have a little self-deprecating humor. We need to let people know you're just another person in the room. You have a title. I say to people all the time, I am not your boss. I am your team member. I can be classified as a team lead, but we work together. You don't work for, you work with me. I say, don't make me be your boss. It's the worst part of my job is being the boss, making decisions that impact people, HR issues, etc. Work hard, come in with great ideas, be driven. You're never going to have to hear my boss voice. As I say, don't make me bring out my deep voice. So lean on humor and enthusiasm and positive attitude. You can disagree, but don't use your power position to stifle further discussion. Don't cross your arms and lean back as someone throws an idea out. Alarms go off in their head. Oh, crap, what did I just say that I don't know? Is pissing him off. The other thing, and I've talked about this before, there's a lot of strong personalities. When you bring a team together, let's say it's all salespeople, many times there will be multiple conversations going on inside the same meeting. How many times have you had to take your team and go, hey, one meeting, come on. When I was out on the streets, story back to my days when I was carrying a bag on the streets. We'd be in the back room at night, and this is the old days. Somebody'd bring a 12-pack of beer in, and he'd pop a top in the back after the work day, and everybody'd have a cold one before they headed for home. And we'd be sitting there, and a concept would come up or an idea would come up, and there'd be 6 or 7 of us back there. As many times I'd just sit back and watch. And let's say there's 7 people out there. There's 3 one-on-one conversations going on in me and watching all of them. And none of them are on the same topic because they're strong personalities, right? I always say, listen to me. I'm always interested in what I have to say, right? So you have to buffer those strong personalities. Explain to everyone that we're all going to get some airtime here. I had said weeks and weeks ago, early episodes about team meetings, that the quiet one may have the proverbial cure to cancer to this problem. But they are so stifled because of all these jerk A personality individual contributors that think they're the greatest thing. Just ask them. And myself included in that commentary, we have to stifle ourselves a little bit to not stifle ideas coming out of these meetings, be it a team meeting with leadership involved, a leadership meeting with different hierarchies there, or a meeting with a customer, or a meeting with lines of business and people that need to support you inside a customer that you have a relationship with already. You don't want the strong personalities to take over. You've already heard their ideas, I promise, because they talk about them every single day. Again, that's all insecurity driven, remember. When people just go on and want to hear themselves talk and think that they are the head cheese, that is insecurity hidden under layers and layers of aggressiveness. Push other ideas out there. As you go around and you realize if you're the leader in the room, you've done all these other steps, you're not sitting at the head of the table, you're giving yourself showing yourself as being vulnerable. You have greeted people, you've lowered the temperature, you've let people know that you need help. If you see someone that is still sitting there quietly, I think it's good to go, hey, Bill, we haven't heard from you yet. There's been a lot of concepts here. Tell me what you're thinking. And listen. That's the next step, too. No matter who's given the input to you, listen and pause. Don't listen to respond. Listen to hear and to contemplate. You're processing. It shows respect. Sometimes it has to be an uncomfortable pause because it may not be that you want to be the one responding. That pause may be designed to get someone else to bring in some concepts, right? If someone starts to respond that's an A personality, just kind of hold your hand up and go, hold on. I'm looking for everybody to process on this for a minute. And then maybe there's another quiet one. We talked to Bill a minute ago. Kathy, what is your input here? What do you think about what was just brought up? Listen and pause. Give everybody time to process. And then when it is worth praising, use precise praise. Don't just say, I appreciate that insight. Add the why you appreciate it. I'll tell you what, Bill, I really appreciate what you said there, and the reason why is this. If we don't make that change that you're talking about, we're not going to get the results because status quo has shown that we're not getting the results. We're on a dropping trend line. Your input there, Bill, is going to help us change the direction of that trend. Add the why. Now, it's okay if it's not praise that you give. You may like the concept. The other important thing in collaboration is to be able to freely challenge ideas. This is really important in front of customers too. Great book, The Challenger. It's a good book. It's where you go in and politely and professionally kind of push back on customers on their why so that they understand that they may not have all the answers yet. Kaizen, I've talked about that before. That's a process that's been around a long, long time on developing ideas and challenging them, what you're looking for is the weak spot. Because you want to know if there is an open military term, you don't expose your flank. If your idea is going to expose your flank, open up something that could negatively impact it, what are the collateral impacts the idea is bringing? What are the collateral impacts the concept is going to open up to? I always do that. I am going to praise myself here for a minute. When people are talking in leadership calls, when I'm with senior staff, I'm not the head person in the room, and an idea comes out, we're going down, hey, what are the negative impacts that'll come from this? You got to contemplate them. Because many times we all have blind spots, things we haven't thought through yet. That's why listening is so critical. That's why pausing is so critical. Let the juices kind of marinate inside your brain there for a minute to see what potentially could be a ramification, positive or negative. And then go to the next level. Okay, that ramification would happen. Now, if that happens, what else could happen? What is the domino effect, positive or negative, of this concept? We have lines of businesses in my business that think they've come up with the greatest new idea for their line of business. The collateral impact many times is they're destroying another line of business with their new approach, and sometimes that other line of business is more profitable. We're going to start offering this service, and we're going to move those revenues from the other line of business. They're not contemplating going after that line of business's revenue, but they don't understand it. They're in their bubble. They don't realize all they're doing is moving left pocket revenue from the company to the right pocket revenue. The right pocket's theirs, and there's a hole in the bottom of their pocket that's called a profit loss or a profit leak. So you have to think about what are the collateral impacts. What's the final outcome going to be? Challenge yourself, eliminate those failure points. Remember, all of these conversations are driven by a bunch of people that are very solid in their careers. They're in the room for a reason. So when you're collaborating, you have to make sure that you let everyone be heard, because the good idea is there somewhere, and it's probably not in your head because you called the meeting. It's probably not in the loudest person in the room because all they're doing is whacking their jaws around to hear themselves talk again. Remember this: everyone in that room is awesome. Keep their shit up. Keep it coming. Talk next week.